that don't take yourself too seriously. If you fail, let people laugh at you. The point I'm making is that you can achieve success by being who you are. And the iconic dialogue saying that, "Dar gaya samjho mar gaya." With God's grace, I was always in the right places with right people. Anybody can do anything if you want to. If you don't take yourself seriously, there are abundant stories around you which are happening. So this "let's see what happens" has been the life thing. In your story, you should not never be the smartest. You should always be the underdog. Throughout your career, you must understand कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे लोगों का काम है क्या ना.
Welcome to a brand new episode of Human Link, a podcast series powered by Refine. Here we are at the episode number 4. I sincerely hope you have been enjoying the last few episodes in the series that we have webcasted. Hello folks, I'm Sanjay Muthar. I'm an advisor to the board of Refine and executive director at ArgoLinks Consulting. Today, I have great privilege of sitting down for a chat with one of my very dear friend whom I know for last 2.5 decades, Yogesh Patgaonkar. Yogesh is the Chief People Officer at Persistent Systems. Yogesh's knowledge and the wisdom he gained at various top HR positions are a class of their own. Yogesh has been at the helm of several leading corporations where he shaped human resource departments and the policies at the apex. Yogesh is also expert as an executive coach and has this very innate ability to bring in his coaching and learning skills for business outcomes. Hello Yogesh, welcome.
Hey,
welcome to Human Link.
Thanks.
Good to meet you and good to see you again. It's a pleasure coming to your city, and chatting with you is going to be a very, very interesting conversation that I'm very excited to know you for more than 2.5 decades now. What's interesting about you is your multifacetedness. And I thought through this episode, I'll try to capture some of the nuances which would be useful for our audience to at least reflect upon.
Sanjay, so I don't know whether I'm multifaceted or I'm confused.
No.
Whether to do this or that.
I think what I'm saying is truth. So let's start. So Yogesh, tell us where it all began. Where did you start in terms of your early career, early life, and what led you to come to HR, and what been parents' influence in your life?
So, honestly speaking, there was no plan for HR or something, because when I was studying, I'm 70 born. So in my generation, when I was studying I grew up in Mumbai. There were only 2 or 3 accepted careers: a doctor or an engineer or a chartered accountant.
Correct.
So I desperately wanted to become a doctor. Okay, so I had taken a science, and I was pretty confident that I'll get it. And there was a group of 12 of us. About, I think, 8 of them wanted to be engineers and about 4 of us wanted to be doctors. The fun part is that when the 12th standard happened, I was the only one left behind to do BSc. Everybody got whatever they wanted to do. Now, I can now say it was a great learning experience, but that time it was pretty shattering, to put it very mildly.
True.
Right? In those days, if you don't get into one of these, you're goner.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
I give a lot of credit to my parents, and never let me feel like I've lost it or I'm a loser or that kind of stuff. My father said, these things happen. You just decide what you want to do. So then I did my BSc, and then I was very clear. I wanted to pursue UPSC. So after my BSc in chemistry, I sat at home and started studying history for a year. And I give a lot of credit to my father. It must have taken a guts to see your son sitting at home and studying a completely different subject.
Absolutely.
And it did not stop there. At 21, I come home. Then one day that I have found a life partner. Now just imagine the father's situation. Your son does not have a degree which has employability. He's at home for 1 year. And after 1 year, he tells you that I have found a life partner. What my father did that time was amazing. And both my parents. And in fact, my wife's parents, because she was 18, I was 21. So my father said, it's okay. One day, it has to be your decision. Who is your life partner? I must say you took it a little early, but that's okay. Just don't compromise on career. That's my only ask.
Amazing.
And that was a light bulb moment. Then I said, if I don't do a career, Everybody, see, at 21, no, your brain thinks like that.
Yeah.
So I said, let me do something. Then that's when I decided to do an MBA. And I'm not saying I would have got into IIMs or XLRI, but I wanted in Mumbai because she was in Mumbai. Okay, that time the
Obviously.
priorities are pretty clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And somebody told me that if you do an MBA from a good school, you will get a 6,000 rupees job. And 91, that was good exam. And that was the ambition. And I always was interested in people. So there was no other option when I applied. I said HR. In fact, in the first year, I got good marks in marketing. And a lot of people told me, why don't you switch and all this? I said, no, it's always HR. Because I happened to be at a right place at a right time. To be fair, there's no HR on horizon, no plan of this thing. The whole idea was that, okay, 6,000 rupees job will give me a good sponsorship with a good life with her, and that's about it.
So your early career, I'm sure when you start building your career, there are some early influences in your lives.
Yeah.
Do you recollect some of those influencers that really shaped your career very early?
Yeah, again, I would say, so father has always been an influence because he was in a similar profession. And just like many kids, for me, even today, my father is a hero. So that was one influencer, of course.
Absolutely.
In fact, the only argument that I had with my father, we generally got along always well. So he wanted me to do an MBA in finance or marketing. And I insisted that I'll do it in HR. And I asked him, why are you saying so? He said, no, and in those days, he said, with HR, you'll never become a CEO. I said, who wants to become a CEO? Because that time, So, but a father has been an influencer because his career, that is a one influence, definite. And he was in the similar field. He was an administrator in the government and he was heading, those days we used to call it personnel. That kind of stuff. So that is one influence. Second influence is that I joined from the campus and I was allocated to the IT company. And 93 IT industry, if you remember, was very nascent.
Absolutely.
In fact, the HR professionals did not even prefer joining there because there was not much of a meet in terms of the collective bargaining and stuff like that. I just liked it because younger people and informal atmosphere. And when my first boss left, they couldn't even find a replacement because no HR person was willing to join a 350, 400 people IT company. So the CEO made me head of HR at a ripe old age of 24.
Oh, wow.
Right? And he said, I'll make you informally 6 months and formally another 6 months. So that happened. So I directly started working with him and that. And when you start working with the CEO and all that, it has a very different kind of a view that you get of the world.
Absolutely.
So I would say I was pretty lucky. And later on, what I did also, I followed my first job with a first entrepreneurship. That was also primarily from the influence of the curiosity of the business, the view of the business that I got. So the early influencers were like the people whom I could work with, the industry that I worked with. I would give a lot of credit to IT industry for whatever has happened in my career and I did not know it that time. That time it used to be, why are you in IT industry?
True.
What HR would you do? Because it was pretty nascent in 93.
Nobody knew about IT industries, in fact.
Not much, honestly.
We only knew that some computer thing is there.
And I was computer illiterate when I joined. So I had to learn the computers also after I joined my job. But perhaps that's the best thing. Again, as I said, you can always look back and say, okay, these are and if you really ask me, everybody that I worked with, they're the influences. Later on, I worked with RPG Group, and we both know the people out there, the leadership out there, the Zensa, and a lot of these were formative years.
Fantastic. At what point in time in your career you knew that you are now in the right space, you are able to influence people, you can work with people, you can relate to people, even to the last man standing in the queue? When did that awareness come in?
I don't know, but maybe it will sound arrogant, but I always felt I was in the right place. Okay. And connecting people is the only thing I have been able to do in my life. So I was always comfortable. I was always in the present moment. I don't miss anything. It's not that I'm not grateful for what has happened in the past, but I don't miss it. So that has made me very happy. So I don't know the answer of it, honestly, Sanjay. But with God's grace, I was always in the right places, with right people, career took shape. And the decisions of career I took were always with the heart. There was no great long-term planning in that in any way.
Fantastic. Now, cut forward to you have had some great brands that you worked with. If I recollect, Emphasis,
Yes.
Zensar,
Yes.
back to
LTT.
RPG Group headquarters,
That's right.
LTTS,
Yes. Now Persistent.
and now Persistent.
Yep.
Before I come to Persistent, amongst these four large corporations that you worked with, so what kind of experiences that shaped your today's, let's say, worldview, where you have a global role, where you oversee thousands of people?
So Emphasis was a very, when I was with Emphasis, that was the fastest growth phase of Emphasis, and it was a very entrepreneurial kind of an organization. I still remember we were told that decisions have to be quick, don't wait for a right decision, take more decisions. That was a good learning from Emphasis. It was a very entrepreneurial kind of a phase of Emphasis. When I joined Zensar, and Zensar was a part of the RPG group, that was the first time I became a global HR head of a publicly listed company. And I was 33 that time. And I would give a lot of credit to Ganesh, who was a CEO, and Arvind, who was a group president HR, to literally put me in that place. And you figured it out. They allowed me to figure it out. And I was always a part of the whole story when we were ramping up in terms of people and all those things. Zensar was a very people-friendly company. And then it was like, the child is pampered. If I really have to look back my Zensar and RPG stint, it's like a child being pampered. After 3 years being a CHRO, I asked the CEO that I want to go into sales. And I don't understand technology even today. I was never trained into sales. So I said, okay. And I was given that chance for 3 years. Then I was taken to the group HR. When I was asked to come in the group HR, I asked there to Arvind, saying that my whole life has been IT. Are you sure you want me to come here? Because if you remember, the group was there from a trial to a entertainment.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right? So I said, yeah, sure. Again, that warmth. So I learned the people aspect of it. I learned that, anybody can do anything. If I have to really put my Zensar RPG stint in one line, anybody can do anything if you want to. That was one. LTTS was again a company, and I was there for a year, but amazing people, intelligent people, very, very passionate about what they did. And I left LTTS not for any other company, but to start on my own, because I was a coach. That was a passion. And at a point of time, I realized that I can't hold an executive position and do coaching. So I had to choose one. And that was a tough choice, but I did that. So the relationships maintained there also. So humongous learning in all these places, actually.
So that was my next question. How did this moment of truth came where you gave up corporate career and came and became a full-fledged coach?
2-3 things. One is that I did my first entrepreneurship when I was 28. And I made money, I spent money there. But then I realized I was a headhunter. I ran a professional services company. I was a headhunter. And you will appreciate this, Sanjay. I used to charge my proposals. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was a very interesting thing. I had a very heady kind of this thing. I charged my brainstorming. So I did a lot of those things. But I started feeling hollow inside. I said, unless I have a broader exposure, I'm just feeling hollow inside. That's when I decided to come back to the corporate. And I always knew that I'll go back one day. And I work on broad patterns. I don't have very detailed plans. So somewhere deep in my mind, I said, at 45, I'll start again. And that was and people who know me that this will be the only plan I'll have. So then I came over here. When I did my P&L stint, the sales and the whole P&L stint for 3 countries, we grew 4 times in 3 years. So that was a successful stint. In RPG, there's a very detailed process for it. So I got promoted in my sales job, not in my HR job, right? And then I was talking to a friend who happens to be a headhunter also, and we were having a lunch after my stint was over. And he says, Yogesh, do you understand that you helped team becoming successful without understanding the domain? So you should actually get into coaching. This was in 2009, and coaching was just nascent in India at that point of time. I said, oh, sounds interesting. And then I enrolled for coaching. So my journey started around there, and it continued. And there came a point where it started giving me that nervous energy. Now I need to get into it full time, because I believe into that. And then what? It just happened. It just happened. At a point, I felt, no, I need to go because, and again, maybe at a subconscious level, 45th birthday had happened.
So you knew.
Then I think somewhere must have been like, and my triggers are like this. So that is very little, may sound a little unprofessional, but that's how it happened.
But tell more the audience, there's a lot of young HR professionals, mid-career HR professionals who are always contemplating that they should get into something entrepreneur. It could be coaching, it could be L&D, consulting firm, executive search, or any of those. But there is always this kind of what should I say, a challenge in their mind as to where should I do or not do. What would you tell to such people who are wanting to do something, but something is holding them back?
Sanjay, you should be telling them, but you are asking me, I'll venture. Okay, I'll take a stab at it. But it's like this. First and foremost is that entrepreneurship, don't romanticize entrepreneurship. Okay? You need to understand the puts and takes when you are getting into that. Second thing is that it's all about solving somebody's problem, be it in a job or be it in a skill.
True.
If you're starting your consulting journey, your generic HR profile is not helping you to start that journey. You need to have individual skills which are sellable. So, like in my own space, I had recruiting as my individual skill, which I had done and proved. I had facilitation, which I had mastered I wouldn't say mastered, practiced over a period of time. And then I had coaching, which I was on my journey. So these are individual skills which I can stand on and I can offer something to the market. So you must be very clear what you are offering to the market, what is sellable, and what problems are you solving. Once you are clear for that, then get into it. Also, do not expect people to treat you the same way they treated you when you were in the corporate. And that mental shift, many people are not able to make. Right? So when I was a CHRO, I left it. If somebody with 3-4 years experience calls me from Mumbai, I would not take a call on the phone. I would sit in my car, drive 3 hours, even for a 20 minutes meeting, 25 minutes meeting. Because in my mind now, that person is my provider.
True.
Right? And I wouldn't get my business by giving yarn to him just because I have 25 years of experience in front of him. If I solve her or his problem, I'll get the business. And I enjoyed my stint because we worked with about 50 to 60 world-class logos. And that all happened by simply connecting with people.
Sure. Very interesting. I mean, if I have to capture a couple of things that you said, is you're saying that you must have 1 or 2 areas core expertise before you kind of decide to do something of your own. Secondly, develop that humility that the client is the king.
Absolutely.
And so leave your garb of...
who you wear doesn't matter actually.
Sure.
That's it. I mean, and never get locked into the past. So one gift that I have is that I don't miss anything in life. So a lot of people ask me when I got into consulting, are you missing your corporate stint? And I did not. Right now when I got into corporate, people are asking me, are you missing your consulting freedom? I am not. So just happy. In fact, Sanjay, my title poem of my poetry book is exactly on living day at a time.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So I don't miss anything.
So you preempted my question. I knew you were doing so well in coaching. Your diaries were full. You had a very strong Rolodex.
Yes.
And then suddenly one day you call me and say that you joined Persistent.
Yeah.
How is that in terms of transition and what was the thinking process behind that?
No. So what started happening is that when I talked to my mentor Arvind and I talked to my wife Pallavi, who knows me best, they both said that, you should take one more CHRO kind of a stint, go back to the industry, get a little more exposure. And what you're doing right now, you can do later also. I said, I was a cartoonist in my college days. So the humor of everything comes in my mind before anything else. So I asked both of them, I may be interested, but somebody should be also interested, right? So my interest doesn't count. And I left it at that. When a query from Persistent came, I was very curious. I said, okay, let me go and meet. And then I met the CEO. And I've always taken the decisions based on the people I get to work, the people I So I met the CEO, I met the CMD, and I said, this is different. This is something where I'll learn something more. And then there was not much of a thinking. I said, okay, let me join and let's see what happens. So this let's see what happens has been the life thing. So, and I was very, very curious about how that they were doing and what they were doing. I liked interacting with the people I was interacting with. So that was an easy decision.
So what I heard you say is that more than the brand, the person that you interact with you
Oh, yes.
helps you to
Absolutely.
convert your own mind
Absolutely.
and take the decision.
And that has happened in my consulting also. I never worked with the people whom I did not like working, even if the brand was bigger. So I used to have a very funny line to myself saying that the personal respect that you get from the client is equal to proportionate to your gross margin.
Correct.
And he would agree
True.
to me as a thing.
True.
So if
Absolutely.
you don't enjoy working with
Well
them, what's the
said.
point in working just because there's some revenue?
Absolutely.
And I have walked out of a few large logos because I just did not agree to the ways of working and I did not like the people I was interacting.
Beautiful. So now tell us more about Persistent and what you do. And I know you do more than HR. So overall,
I
what's
head
been your journey now?
so I head the global HR function, the people function. Persistent is a company, as a DNA, is a company which has a very hard, techie kind of a DNA. And this is one company which said that we will deal with technology and we'll solve the technical problem. So if you really look at our history, we stayed away from some of the phenomenon in the IT industry which actually help people significantly grow larger because
True.
that were not a part of our charter. So it was a very strong core that was built and Persistent by the founder and chairman, who was Dr. Anand Deshpande. Then when the current CEO came, Mr. Sandeep Kalra, he just put an amazingly efficient business engine in front of that core, which was very strongly developed. And we literally galloped in the last 4 or 5 years. We were always doing well, always growing, but the last 4 or 5 years have been very special. So we're growing. Our focus becomes what we call digital engineering. That is our niche. So we help product companies develop their product, build their product platforms. We also help the enterprises to build their platforms. And that's the focus that we have stayed through. And to my mind, this focus has made us attractive to the talent, to the market. And in the headwinds also, we are growing today. If you really see, even the last year, when the industry went through the headwinds, even last year we grew. And the growth continues. So that's really the Persistent story, is about grit, passion, focus, growth. That's about, and that's fun working, actually.
But just dealing with multicultural diversity of talent, multi-ethnic talent, etc., etc. Is that different than, let's say, managing the Indian talent?
I'll give a lot of credit to the IT industry because this was always an export industry. So right from the beginning, that exposure was there. And when you get soaked into that from the early part of your career, my take is that I think, the nuances would be there and some of the finer aspects would be there, but people are people. I mean, I still get a mail from one of my colleagues who is in the US, who is an American, that a new member in the family is born with the baby's picture, and nothing changes that such, right? So people are people, and I have always found, even in my sales job or otherwise, I could relate to people. And if you talk to people with a heart, with honesty, to my mind, globally, the citizens are the same. And that's well. So a lot of credit to the industry, because it just, I'll give you a very simple example of what I mean, why I give credit to the industry. I was doing a presentation on performance management and something like that. This was about 26 years back somewhere in my job. I think this was an emphasis in 2000. And it was a global audience. There were right from Japanese to American, everybody was there on the call. And I made a presentation. I'm generally happy with myself. So I was very happy with my presentation, so thinking that I have done a great presentation. So I asked my boss, how did it go? He said, superb, but they wouldn't have understood a word. They wouldn't have understood a word of it. I got very upset. I said, why do you say that? I said, you talk so fast. Now, as Indians, we have a habit of starting 4 threads in a conversation together. We don't go linear. Now, these are the nuances over a period you start learning. But otherwise, on the people front, people are people.
Well said. People are people. Yes, I completely agree with you. Now, let me switch over and come to the personal side of Yogesh Patgaonkar, which I tremendously admire, because I think if I had even 10% of that, I would have
You've
been.
always been kind.
No, but I'm coming to.
Sanjay, with your profile, I should be conducting your interview. You have this humility of conducting mine. But go on.
Thanks for saying that. But interestingly, voracious reader of the books, right?
Yeah.
So from your memory, is there one or two books that really influenced your thinking?
I keep reading pretty much wide and wild, including novels. So I don't, but a few books that make an impact, who are simpler to read, is, for example, Timothy Galloway's Inner Game of Tennis.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's being a sports coach. Even right now, I get goosebumps when I just talk about it. Because, without jargon, he just nails it in terms of how do you fight with your inner battles, kind of stuff. The other one which I like, again, if you ask me, today's biggest leadership competence is vulnerability.
Yeah.
Now, we can read about vulnerability in a very different way, but I learned it in that book called Elephant Whisperer. Who is this author? The South African. I'm just getting the name. So again, he had no experience with the elephants. And he just got those elephants because otherwise those will be killed. And he starts dealing with the wild state of elephants, and finally they become his friends. So the whole journey is about an amazing lesson about vulnerability. Then there's another book called Team of Rivals, Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, yeah.
The people who talk nasty about him.
That's right.
And he defeated them in an election, but when he became a president, he made them their ministers because he understood. So going beyond your personal opinions for a leader and identifying strengths in people and just appointing them to their strengths, even if they don't like you. That's amazing. So there are books, Sanjay. I can go on talking about books and books and books because books is something which is like,
I know that.
It's like, so let me take. But the other book, especially for those of us who are interested, it's a little heavy one, on becoming a person.
Okay.
It's an amazing book. It's written by when the coaching as a word was also not coined.
Correct.
And in nutshell, it talks about who you are as a person helps people much more than what techniques and templates you follow. And that's something which I really, really resonates with me.
Very true. Now, another fascinating side of you is the art of storytelling. And your videos go quite viral on LinkedIn and social media. How did you develop that? And do you have a script or do you just speak from the heart?
So it's a journey. I was in a school. I was a very nice roly-poly short kid. So sports was not my thing. So I chose education. Okay. And right from the literally primary school, my parents helped me to develop my education. Okay. So I used to win all those prizes. All that used to happen. Then came a time in a high school, there used to be 2 rounds. One is a prepared round of elocution and second is extempore.
That's right.
And then I realized that I started enjoying the extempore more over a period of time. Because by then I had mastered the techniques of oratory, if I may say so.
Yeah.
In a sense, I was comfortable with the techniques of oratory. Then I said, I'm more natural when I can be spontaneous. That's what I discovered. And then I was a cartoonist. See, cartooning is not about sketches or sketching. Cartooning is about the underlying humor that you see in what is going on around the world in you, and that you always see it as a story. So the stories just happen like that. Okay. And the most important part to my mind for storytelling is that you should never take yourself seriously. If you don't take yourself seriously, there are abundant stories around you which are happening. And I don't know otherwise how to develop an art. The other thing, I actually did a session with my team about art of storytelling. And one of the principles in that, in your story, you should never be the smartest person. You should always be the, underdog.
Lovely.
Because the underdog gets the sympathy.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Simple as that. If you start telling your stories as how smart I was, nobody listened to the stories.
Fantastic.
It also helped me in my coaching.
Yeah.
This whole piece of not taking yourself seriously. See, what happens is that in coaching, there's a concept called chemistry meeting. You are meeting your client, and in that meeting, it's an introduction meeting. Now, many times you can misunderstand that meeting as to impress a client, future client, about how smart you are. I had a very simple concept. If I'm meeting a leader who has to decide whether I can be his or her coach, I used to tell them my life story, and I have literally a model of 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and 7 minutes of a life story, where I would say that what faux pas I've done and how I've landed where I'm landed, stumbling. Now, what used to happen is that it's a principle of reciprocity. Then those people also used to open up and tell their real story.
Correct.
And after telling their story, sometimes they used to say, I've never actually told it to my colleagues also. But the coaching happens from the space of vulnerability. Now, if I tell my story of how smart I am, that person will tell the story of how smart that person is. There's no, the coaching is not going to happen after that. So, to my mind, the storytelling has a far more value than people think of. But हमारे यहाँ उसको, we have a cultural connotation of storytelling which is not so positive.
True.
That is the risk.
True.
So when I've done these sessions with people, and why don't they tell stories? When I dug deep and allowed them to speak, what came out is that storytelling is almost akin to telling lies.
Yeah.
Baatein bana rahe.
Correct.
That is the mental block. If people
don't tell me a story, people say, right?
Yeah. And if people overcome that mental block, everybody is a natural storyteller actually.
Well said. And do you think there is a linkage of your storytelling ability and your managerial ability?
Of course. In today's world, when you are managing any portfolio, it's impossible that you will know every nook and corner as to what is happening. So you have to trust people. And people, when you're dealing with people, you can never motivate people. But people can get inspired. And I'll tell you the difference. Motivating people is like breaking the egg from outside. You can at best get an omelette ready. But if you allow the egg to break from inside, you may have a poultry one day. Yes. Right? So if you tell stories, if you're open, if you are vulnerable, people respond to you very differently. And I don't think my HR concepts are strong or I am the best kind of this thing, but I've always been able to ask help by being with open dialogue. So I've worked with people who are far more smarter than me, actually, throughout my life. That is a gift again that I had. And again, I have not done anything for it. And that's where storytelling makes you open. Storytelling makes you okay with vulnerability. And if you have vulnerability, if you are comfortable with your vulnerability, people speak very openly with you. So when you work with somebody, people will come and tell you the real stuff, what they are scared of, so that you are not, solving some fictitious problems. Because you are real, that person is real. And the other principles that I learned is that I take people at face value. Trust is a default setting.
Oh, wow.
They have to give me data to the contrary.
Beautiful.
Otherwise, trust is a default setting. That's why I'm
happy a lot of nuggets are coming out of our conversation today. Trust is a default setting. Yes, of course. Fantastic. Vulnerability. I think
that is my biggest belief.
You made that point very, very succinctly and very vividly now. That vulnerability is a starting point of...
to my mind, that's the best leadership competency.
Beautiful.
It's a portal where you allow people to log in and work with you.
Beautiful. Now, another thing that fascinates me is such lovely, multifaceted and multi-talented family that you have.
Yeah.
So, friends, Yogesh has a son called Chinmay, prolific writer. I'll let him talk about his daughter who's in UK right now, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Deep in the history. Am I right?
Yeah.
Correct. And Pallavi's partner, she has been entrepreneur and now she's back at work and she manages home. So more about Chinmay and your daughter.
So my daughter, January, she in 8th or 9th standard, she told that I'll be an archaeologist. And in our home, right from my childhood, which is what my father did, is that rule is set, that nobody argues. So we said, okay. Now she became archaeologist and she did a master's in archaeology. And then she said, I don't want to do the classical archaeology, but I want to do an applied one. So we asked her, what are you wanting to do? So she said, I want to really do the cultural tourism, for example. That people should understand the culture, history of this country when the tourism also happens. So I said, look, you understand the culture part of it a bit through your education. Now you need to understand tourism as a business. So she has right now gone for her master's in UK for international tourism.
Wow.
So that's and again, we all work on patterns. If you ask me, I don't know what is going to happen next. Neither does she.
Okay.
Chinmay, in the pandemic, He was 12 years. So the only rule, our house does not have many rules. The only rule we had put him is that he will not play the online games. Because if you remember some of the games, violent games had become very popular at that time. I'm talking about 4 or 5 years back, 4 years back. So he said, can I, and I opened a Coursera account for him. I said, do as many certifications as you want and do a paid one, so don't worry. And read as many books as you want. So one day he came and asked, can I write a book? Now, when a 12-year-old comes and asks you, can I write a book? You don't take it seriously. I say, yeah, sure. As long as you're not playing online games, you do anything. So he actually next 2 years wrote the book. He sent it for editors and stuff. Finally, Pallavi told me that read your son's book before it is published. Because till then I had not taken it seriously. And looking back, that is the single most contribution I did to his book. Because had I taken interest in his book, I would have tried doing my validation in his book. So that was the first book. Then he wrote the second book on history, Indian history. And he writes fiction. So he's 17. So he has published his two books. He's again figuring out what he wants to do in career. Neither he knows nor we know, but he'll figure it out one day. So that's the family. And my father allowed me to drift and figure it out myself. So that helped me. I think that works, in my opinion. It's a little scary sometimes, I'll admit.
Yeah. So for a lot of people, there's a pattern that they follow. What clearly comes out of our conversation is that everyone is entitled to drift.
Yeah.
Maybe err sometime in life. Of course. Do the course correction.
Yeah.
And find your own mojo.
And you keep finding it. Right now also I'm in work in progress. We are all work in progress also lives till we do something. Simple as that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So Yogesh, what next?
I don't know. Is the honest answer. But yes, one day I'll go back to coaching for sure, full time. And that I had no doubt in it because I believe in that concept. I believe in that profession.
Yogesh, on serious note, making career into IT industry, then getting full-time into coaching, now again, a very senior and top leader into large IT company. If you were to spell out some success mantra or some enabler or some qualities that you think a younger HR professional who aspires to become what you have become.
Is it okay if I give an example while saying that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel free. It's open-ended.
So Sanjay, who do you think is the best test opening batsman for India ever? All three.
Sunil Gavaskar.
Yeah, fair enough. Who is the second best in your opinion?
Opening?
Yeah, opening. Test match opening.
Never got anyone second because I've always revered.
Yeah, so I also revered Sunil Gavaskar, but I'll tell you the second one is Sehwag. And that does not come as naturally to our mind.
That's
Now
right.
I'll tell you the statistics. Sunil Gavaskar has 10,125 runs, I think.
Correct.
And his average was about 51 or something like
That's
that.
right.
34 centuries
Yeah.
in test. Sehwag has made 8,500 runs. His average was also 49.5 or something, not too behind Sunil Gavaskar. And no coach will dare to show Sehwag's videos to his students as to how the opening batsman should bat.
That's right.
Correct?
It's throwing caution to the wind.
Yeah, but he's also the only Indian batsman to have 2 triple centuries.
Triple centuries.
Nobody else.
That's right. That too in Pakistan.
Yeah, that too in Pakistan. So now, the point I'm making is that you can achieve success by being who you are. Sunil Gavaskar could have been Sunil Gavaskar. We tried it being a Sehwag, or Sehwag couldn't have been Sunil Gavaskar if somebody drilled into his head that, this is how the opening batsman has to play. So the first principle guiding principle I have followed is that just understand who you are and be comfortable. There are no patterns of success. Point number one. I'm a cricket fan, by now you would know. The other, for you and me, the most flamboyant batsman for our time was Sandeep Patil.
True.
I mean, even today, I search for the videos and look at it, right? Now,
even the way he used to walk.
Absolutely. There was a swag.
Correct? Complete swag.
The Australia 174, nobody would forget.
Absolutely.
Right? Hitting after getting hit on the head. Now, the point is that, but his test career was very small. Right? Whereas Ravi Shastri came as 11th number batsman, went on to be an opener.
That's right.
He scored more centuries and more runs than Sandeep Patil.
Yeah.
Played longer. I think Sandeep Patil played 29 tests. This fellow played 80 tests. And Shastri definitely had, on the skill to skill comparison, limited skills compared to Sandeep Patil.
Yeah.
But he was, his work ethics were, he was a hard worker. He was focused.
Correct.
Hard working. So these are the themes of success to my mind. The second thing is that don't take yourself too seriously. If you fail, let people laugh at you. In my career, thrice I have been written off by people on my face, and the same people later on came and told me that we always knew you'll do something. I said, thank you. So it happens. So Sanjay, if I may say so, one of my clients had one day asked me, at the end of the business meeting, can you just talk about leadership in 5 minutes? Now, it was a dilemma I had. I said, what do you talk about leadership in 5 minutes?
Correct.
Right? But I said, he was a known person, so I said, I'll take a stab at it. I just presented 2 slides, and that to my mind is a summary, and those 2 pictures were there. That is a summary of leadership in my opinion. The first picture I showed them was Gabbar Singh from Sholay. And the iconic dialogue saying that, Dar gaya samjho mar gaya. Right? The second picture I showed them was Rajesh Khanna from Amar Prem. Kishorda has sung this beautiful one, Kuch to log kahenge, logon ka kaam hai kehna.
Right.
Now, if you understand these 2 themes in tandem, you get leadership.
Beautiful.
That's it. I mean, there's nothing more complicated than that, actually.
Wow.
Throughout your career, you must understand kuch to log kahenge, logon ka kaam hai kehna. That's all. We take ourselves too seriously. We give a lot of importance to how the world is perceiving you. And that's fine. If we train ourselves on that, you will be always happy.
So Yogesh, thank you so much for sharing the crucial flex points of your life and career journey. It is truly inspiring, to say the least. With that, we close another interesting chapter of Revelations for the Human Link. I look forward to hosting you the next episode. Until then, stay healthy, stay happy, and all the best in your careers. See you soon.